Welcome back to another edition of the Here We Go podcast. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus here with the holidays and I have a room in my house I'm actually trying to fix up to do this in a more permanent location rather than driving in my car when it's dark out. So, having said all that, the regular season has officially concluded. We know exactly where we're going to play. We know exactly who we're going to be playing against. And a large portion of the the fan base is already talking about who the franchise is going to be taking in the 2025 NFL draft. And that tells you just about everything you need to know about the confidence level in this fan base, seeing their first playoff win since 2016. And let's just say that the confidence is not high. When the arguments online are already starting to talk about, should we take a wide receiver? Should we take a corner? Should we take a defensive lineman? Do we go quarterback? Pretty much says everybody has already given up on a game that is days away from even being played. It is very difficult to play a team 3 times in a season. It's very difficult to go into a team's home stadium in a playoff atmosphere when everything's on the line. And let's be honest, when you're on a 4-game losing streak, the momentum that you would like to have going into a game like this just doesn't exist. That's exactly why the fan base is already talking about the draft picks. They've already cashed it in on this game, and you wonder how many will be watching or for how long they'll be watching. But the one thing that I absolutely love about sports is that once you get to the playoffs, everyone starts a brand new season. Everyone. That doesn't mean you can't forget about what the offense has done for 4 straight games or what the defense has done. But let's be honest, the defense was in playoff format just this past weekend. They looked like a playoff winning team on defense. And it would be impossible for anyone to argue otherwise. They held down the Cincinnati Bengals' vaunted offense, an offense that has been racking up yardage and racking up points against virtually everyone. And they did it with a guy in Corey Trice making his first career start, matching up one-on-one with Ja'Marr Chase, and was left on an island a lot. Now, if you would have told me that their defensive game plan going into that Cincinnati game was Corey Trice one-on-one with Ja'Marr Chase, I probably would have said Ja'Marr Chase is about to have 15 catches for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that's not saying I have no faith in Corey Trice. It's just his first career start against the guy who's the Triple Crown winner and receiver. There's no way that ends well, right? Instead, Ja'Marr Chase has about 9 catches, 93 yards, and 1 touchdown. And I kept talking leading up to the game that Corey Trice really just needed to battle. You were never going to stop Ja'Marr Chase. Never. We are not a team that has anyone built to guard that guy. Neither does the rest of the NFL, obviously, or he wouldn't be the Triple Crown winner, right? But the one thing that you were hoping for is that a guy like Corey Trice in his first career start wasn't going to get down on himself, was having a short memory, was going to battle with him, was going to fight with him, was going to do what he could to slow him down. And he did. I thought he played extremely well because I thought there would be a ton of opportunities with Minkah Fitzpatrick playing over the top. If he's locked up man-to-man, which I actually thought the man coverage part was the right move. You have he and Joey Porter both on the field together, and I'm all in on running man-to-man coverage a large portion of the time. Quit playing these soft zones. I've been saying that all year. Trice is built to be a man cover corner. Let those two guys man up so that your pass rush has a chance. And Corey Trice, I thought, battled as admirably as anybody I could have imagined in that situation. He led the team in tackles, which is not a good thing. You don't want your corner to lead the team in tackles. But when you're playing a team that doesn't run the ball, well, I mean, you still don't want him to lead the team in tackles, but you can kind of understand it. I mean, Burrow threw far, far more than they were even planning on running the ball ever. The defense played championship level defense because the Bengals offense is every bit of a Super Bowl kind of offense. Their defense was the only thing holding them back this year, and that was very apparent. The problem is the defense that held back Cincinnati also held back the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Trey Hendrickson went on an absolute rampage and racks up 3.5 sacks. Dan Moore Jr. looked exactly like the old Dan Moore Jr. I mean, he couldn't stop absolutely anything Hendrickson was doing. Russell Wilson looks like he's got happy feet. He's either relying on the moon ball or checkdowns. There's nothing in between until it's just desperation mode. And it reminds me so much of the way that Kenny Pickett had been playing. Now, you guys might get mad at me for saying this, but Russell Wilson looks like Kenny Pickett right now. He's throwing the ball deep. The only difference between the two guys is Russell Wilson's got one of the best deep balls in NFL history and actually can lead his receiver. Kenny Pickett didn't have the arm strength to lead it, so he threw back shoulder fades all the time. And if that's not there, he's checking it down just the same as what Kenny Pickett would do. He's also getting happy feet and moving around before the pressure actually even gets there, just like Kenny Pickett did. Or he ends up holding the ball for far too long and creating pressure on his own because he refuses to get rid of it, either because no one's open or because he doesn't see the open receivers, just like Kenny Pickett did. So while the defense is playing championship level football in this past game, the offense looks like it has no business even being in the playoffs. That's a problem. And it feels like we are on the opposite end of the spectrum of Cincinnati, right? Cincinnati has the defense that can't stop anything. And we have the offense that can't get anything going. I mean, we had 15 first downs in the game against Cincinnati. We ran the ball on 12 of the 15 first downs. That is as predictable as anything you can ever imagine. And then everybody's like, oh, well, the offensive running game's not very efficient. Well, gee, I wonder why. Because everybody in the world knows they're going to run the ball on first down. And the whole world who's ever played football in their lives know if you don't have some effective plays on first down, it really kind of kills the drive. It leads to 3 and outs far too often. We didn't run the ball 12 out of 15 times when we played Cincinnati the first time, and we lit up the scoreboard. Now, this game, we decide, oh, you know what? We're going to be really smart. We're going to trick them. We're going to do the same thing we've been doing all year and just run the ball on first down. We're not going to use the formula that worked the first time. And Cincinnati's linebackers, on the pass plays we were running, just came up and picked the backs out of the backfield up. And so what do? We waited the entire game to slip the tight end and Pat Freiermuth behind those damn linebackers. I mean, that should have been every time you ran a running back through the middle of the field for a check down right in front of Zach Frazier, the linebackers were coming up. All you had to do was sneak somebody behind them, and that was there all game long because they're in cover two. The safeties weren't coming up. We made no adjustments at all. So not only can you have no efficiency on first down because everybody in the world knows you're about to run the football, including Lou Anarumo and the entire Cincinnati defense. But on top of that, we made absolutely no adjustments whatsoever all game long. It's unbelievable how we continue to just fight through stupidity rather than using football common sense and changing it up to find something that would be effective. I don't know how you possibly could fix some of the things that we're doing if you're not willing to make adjustments at all. How do you fix the offense? Change the goddamn offense. You can't put in a new playbook. I'm not suggesting that. But what you can do is change your play calling within the same structure of the playbook that you have. What you can't do is understand that midway through the fourth quarter, or nearly midway through the fourth quarter, when your team has 91 yards of total offense, you figure out that Russell Wilson is not having success. Put in Justin Fields and see what happens. They didn't even give him a single snap in the game. When an offense did absolutely nothing for an entire game against a historically bad defense. I mean, that is coaching malpractice. A guy who was 4-2 on the season, who played multiple playoff teams, doesn't even get a single snap because your guy who's supposed to take us to the Super Bowl had 91 total yards of offense. Well, thank you, Russ, for racking up all 91 of those yards on offense. We greatly appreciate it. And the reward that we got was an opportunity to try to drive down the field and get ourselves in field goal range. Russell Wilson sneaks the ball. Well, he doesn't sneak. He actually just scrambled and then ran the ball for 4 yards when we had no timeouts. Gets tackled inbounds and essentially ends the game. Yes, we had one more crack at it. Yes, Pat Freiermuth dropped that ball. But what the hell are you doing as a 35-year-old veteran running for 4 yards when we had no timeouts? Dump the ball out of bounds and save the clock. This isn't rocket science. That 4 yards was not getting us any closer to a first down. It was not getting us any closer to a field goal. It ran the clock out. Because it took like 18 seconds for everybody to get back to the line of scrimmage, snap the ball, and run the next play. I'll be honest with you, I don't think Russell Wilson can win this football game in Baltimore. I would rather see Justin Fields back on the field. I do not care if Russell Wilson's the better passer. He ain't passing the football very well right now anyway. Ever since we've played playoff caliber teams, he has sucked. At least add an extra running dynamic to your offense and Justin Fields and live with whatever happens. Because at least he has a better chance of not going into the fourth quarter with 100 yards of total offense. Hell, he's going to run for 50 by himself. Do something different. Please quit saying Russ is your guy and you're going to ride the hot hand. Neither of these dudes are locked up beyond this year anyway. We owe nothing to either one of them. Utilize what you have this year. Isn't that why you brought them here in the first place? The other reason this team is not going to be successful in the playoff is they have to spend entire games sending waves of players to go calm down George Pickens. George is fighting with the fan base now. He's fighting with teammates. He's fighting with coaches. I mean, this dude might be the biggest cancer I have ever seen. And I watched Terrell Owens for years, who was a guy that I considered like the ultimate cancer and a guy who single-handedly could bring down a Super Bowl franchise. George Pickens is worse. I'm just telling you. I don't know what anyone sees in that guy that makes them defend him game in and game out and attack people on social media who say anything negative about him. Like, he's an all-world talent. And he will never achieve anything close to what his talent level suggests because he's his own worst enemy. I think this team's in trouble when it comes to Baltimore. And right now, I'm feeling like this game's not even going to be close. It feels like we lose by at least 20. I put online the day after this, or the day of the Steeler game, we're going to lose by 30. I don't think we're going to lose by 30 because I'm not sure the defense is going to give up 30. But if the defense gives up 20, I still feel like we're going to lose by 20. This offense is terrible. Tomlin and Arthur Smith just refuse to adjust and make any changes whatsoever that could have any effect on this team being successful moving forward. Russell Wilson does not look like the guy. He does not look like a guy that should be getting a long-term contract, although I still think, sitting here right now, they are going to give him a long-term contract. And I posted this morning. I believe between Russell Wilson and George Pickens, it is far more likely that George Pickens plays his last game in a Steeler uniform than Russell Wilson, which is scary because Russell has been terrible. But I think George is playing his way completely out of Pittsburgh. I would dump him after the offseason. I've said it multiple times. People haven't really been on board with this, but people are starting to come on board with it now. I've been saying it for weeks. He is a major problem and no team is going to win with George Pickens. He's too much of a problem. His talent is undeniable. And I'm sure he's a great kid. I'm sure he's a great kid. But when it comes to the off-field stuff, he's just absolutely terrible. And no team can win when you're spending so much of your time trying to calm down your star receiver rather than making adjustments in game and figuring out what's going on with the game plan. So we'll see what happens. But as I sit here right now today, I don't think this game in Baltimore is going to be close. So I'm going to try to put out a few more videos like this before I actually get set up with my desk in a room where I have a little bit more stability to do this anytime I want. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Love communicating and interacting with everybody out there. Let's hope I'm completely wrong when it comes to the weekend here in Baltimore. All right, Steeler Nation, we'll see you.